Hello, yes, that's right. It's Joe here for JOYRIDER TV, live from the Wildwind workshop, where a lot of work has been going on since I saw you last. Yes, we're back for some more scintillating Q&A. You ask the questions and I will attempt to supply the answers. Yeah, apologies for the radio silence since the last Q&A, but we have had an absolutely fierce amount of stuff to do on the Wildwind beach in the Wildwind boat park, preparing for this season to begin, which it is beginning. You're not going to believe it, but as of tomorrow, we are open for champagne sailing right up until the middle of October. So we really are turning a corner. Along with the Wildwind Sailing Centre being open, this also means that the Making Great Videos season is going to be back upon us now. And I've got quite a list of small video projects ready to be filmed already once I get a bit of time. So that is very exciting. Hello to everybody who's already tuned in live. Hello to Tim in Clearwater, Florida. Nice to have you on board, Tim. We've got Lift and Drag Racing. Hello. We've got Fred. It's good to have you with us, Fred. Glad you can make it. We've got Han. Hello, Han. We've got Michelle in Las Vegas, Nevada, USA. We've got Fleet 240 Santa Cruz, who should be Laura, I believe. And then we've got Matt in on the live chat. Yeah, thanks very much for tuning in. It is good to be back. Yeah, so where do these things begin? I think what we'll begin with is just diving into, actually, before we go preloaded, Lift and Drag Racing's in there with what I believe to be a question. So we'll have a look at this question. He says, so our Spinnaker system is not feeling smooth at all. Takes a lot of pulling to put it up and down. It gets stuck in the snuffer when pulling the tack line. When pulling out the tack line, half the sail goes out. Any tips to improve this? I already got some sail coat. I think sail coat is probably some sort of lubricant you put on your sail to make it more efficient. So I would say the first plate. So just to paraphrase this question into plain terms, what they've got here is a spinnaker on their boat, and when they're going to hoist it, it is really not going up very easily. And when they go to pull the tack line out, a lot of sail falls out, that kind of thing. So what I would start with is drawing a boat. I think that's a good place to start. So it's been a while. Fairly short mast on this bad boy. Massive spinnaker pole. We've got the blocks that make it all happen. And then we've got the spinnaker chute, if that's all right. It does look a little bit like a tank, I'm not going to lie. All right, so first thing to have a look at is your blocks. So just first thing to look at with the blocks is just, here we go, I've got one here, is just have a look and see if the block works as it should do. If it's grinding at all, with these, like a lot of boats have these sort of not like exactly like this, but Harken blocks on. In fact, we're in the workshop. Harken. Here we go. I've got a whole bucket of Harken blocks here. yeah, so you're quite likely to be using a block a bit like this, in this position at the end of the bowsprit, perhaps at the top of the mast, maybe whatever your arrangement is at the base of the mast, maybe you'll have another one of those there, but just check that it's in good condition and it rolls nicely when you roll it. That would be the first thing that I would look at if you've got a grindy Spinnaker system. So take a look at that. The other at the other end of the scale, these blocks do wear over time, and I don't know, can you see that? You see, it is completely worn away. All the bearings have gone, and sometimes you might not have looked at the top of your mast for quite a long while, and it could be like, oh, this spinnaker's getting tough, and you're saying to the crew, don't be soft, just pull it harder. What's wrong? You go, I've just cut my hands on the halyard. It might be because this block is absolutely finished. So then obviously the only thing to do there is to replace the blocks. Also, when did you last wash the lines, the halyard and the tack line that pulls it to the end of the boom? It's a very nice thing to do for your boat. Take the lines off your boat, put them in a bucket of water overnight, bucket of soapy water if you can stretch that far, and it's going to make all the lines much nicer, much softer, and also they're less likely to burn the spinnaker as well. Yeah, so that's the first two things I would look at. Next thing to look at is, especially at the tack line, because I just had this today when I was preparing an FX1, is where the rope goes through here and it goes to the spinnaker. If that rope is kind of binding on anything, which might be the bolts that hold the block on, or if it's a 1-to-2 system where this actually goes to a block like that and ties off here, it might be rubbing on this other line going in, which is causing it to kind of block when you try to pull it out. So if you have got this system and that's jamming there, that means that the spinnaker will start to go up before it goes to the end of the pole. When you're testing these things, try to test them so that the pull is exactly as it would be when you're hoisting the spinnaker or dropping it. Now, one thing which is often overlooked with spinnaker friction, hoisting and dropping, is the actual spinnaker sock itself. And what you want to do with your spinnaker sock is make sure it is fully tensioned. So you'll have some way of tensioning it. I'm going to draw an arrow this way, which would a lot of the time just be like two small lines that you tie off somewhere back here, or yeah, usually two small lines. So make sure that is as tight as possible, because if the spinnaker sock isn't tight, what's going to happen is you're going to have lots of creases. So like this in your spinnaker sock. Yeah, so that's, and then so what those creases are going to do is they're going to cause excessive friction when your spinnaker's going up or down. And if you compare to having a tight spinnaker sock, when I put it like that, so I think it really does look quite obvious that it makes a lot of sense to have that pulled tight to get rid of some of that friction. Also, when did you last wash your spinnaker? If your spinnaker's had a lot of salt build up, that can cause extra friction. So there you go. I think that is a good set of things to start having a look at, but do check those blocks. And if the crew is complaining that it's really hard to pull the spinnaker up or down, it's probably because it is, not because they're being soft. There we go. I hope that helps. Thanks very much for that question. Oh, we got Tim in Oregon here. Yeah, hi, Tim. Great to have you on board. We've got Robin in Florida. Hello, Robin. All right, Lift and Drag Racing, who asked that Spinnaker question, says, not sure if I need to spray the whole sail, just the snuffer or nothing with the lubricant. What I would do with lubricant, because I'm not a massive believer in lubricant, just because I live in fear of it getting onto the ropes, onto the trampoline, onto anything that you don't want to be slippery. So the one place I would spray lubricant is just around the rim of the chute. Give it a really good spray in there, but try not to get it on the ropes. If you can avoid it, that would be the place. All right, we've got Russell on board. All right, and Russell says, great week over this way. Just purchased a C2. Oh, yeah, nice. Taking delivery tomorrow. Moving up from the F16 Viper. That is fantastic. Really pleased for you with that, Russell. I hope you have a lot of fun with that. It's such a great boat. You are going to have a blast. And I think moving up from the F16 to an F18 is definitely it's very similar. I think you'll find the F18 probably much less twitchy than the F16. So in many ways, you're going to find it easier. The thing that's going to be possibly bit more difficult is the increased sheet loads on the F18, because everything is, of course, a bit bigger. And then the other thing you'll find a bit more tricky is moving it around on the beach, because that bad boy is a bit heavier. But there you go. Great stuff. Look forward to seeing that bad boy on Show Us Your Cat. Oh, yes. All right, we've got Robert, who is in the White Mountains of northern New Hampshire, USA. Just like your shop, it's time to go through the rigging and get ready for another exciting season on the cats. Oh, yeah, not wrong. All right, we've got Jerome or Yerum, who says, back to the boat shortly. Happy to come back to your broadcast. Nice. What do you think about the textile rigging for a Hobie Pearl? Thanks in advance. Yeah, I think when you're talking about textile rigging, you are probably talking about, instead of having traditional stainless steel rigging like that holds the mast up, or what your trapeze wires are made of, you're talking about using Dyneema. Should have a bit here somewhere, and here we go. Okay, so this is Dyneema rope. This is very strong, and I believe it is actually as strong or even stronger than the traditional wire rigging that you get on boats. It's very easy to splice, so there's so many YouTube videos that are better than the one that I did, because I had to take mine down because I showed bad technique. But very easy to splice. You can splice it yourself, just with if you've got a good FID kit, which good FID kit to get, whoa, all over the place today in the workshop, is the splicing kit from Malcheski Composites. Comes in a box like this, and it really does make splicing as easy as it can possibly be. You've got everything in the kit there that you need to splice your ropes. But what do I think of this stuff? I think it is a bit of a leap of faith to go to shrouds and forestay made of the Dyneema, but I've been using Dyneema trapeze lines now for a long time, and I really like them. I like the way they look. They're lighter than the metal, and like I said, they're easy to make yourself. What would be the downside of the Dyneema rigging? I would say it's going to be more prone to wear, because the regular steel rigging, if something's like rubbing on it, it's not going to wear away very quickly. But with the Dyneema rigging, if you've got something rubbing on it a lot, then it might cut through eventually. So that would be the one thing that I would look at. But yes, very much into it. Check out Malcheski Composites for everything you need to splice your Dyneema, as well as a lot of other good stuff for your boat there. But yes, and yes. But I'm very keen. What I might try, do you think we should try this actually? I don't know if anybody's done this. I'm sure someone has. But to put Dyneema rigging on a Hobie 16, how would that taste? Tasty. However, having said that, I have just replaced all of the rigging on all of our catamarans, so it would be a bit of a waste, but it'd be a nice idea. So let's have a look at that at some point. All right. Oh, so Lift and Drag Racing with the Spinnaker question says it might actually be the tension in the snuffer, this scenario going on. All right, we've got Lee on board, who's in Lake Tobo, Georgia. Nice. We've got Michael in Washington. Hello, Michael. Glad you could make it. All right, Fred says, looking forward to the rubber rail covering on the 16. Just curious how much I should order to do the job. Oh, off the top of my head, I could not say. Have I got some here ready? No, they're all done. And yeah, okay. What I was waiting for before. Okay, so if you didn't know, I've been putting rubber all over the place. I have got some here actually, which we could just have a quick look at. With this what's the best angle? This diamond grip rubber, which has got self-adhesive backing, and I've been so impressed with this. We did one of the boats last year with some rubber, which was donated to the cause by Office Hands Dave from Lake Lanier, Georgia, and this was really good because it meant I had the opportunity to put it on a boat, test it for the whole season, see how it held up to the demands here. And after a whole season, it didn't show any signs of degrading at all. Still looks fantastic. The self-adhesive was adhesing very nicely. So this year I've taken the plunge, covered a lot of the boats in this rubber for extra traction when trapezing or just sitting on the deck. And yes, I've done many of all of the 16 sidebars, but I can't remember off the top of my head what the numbers were. I would have to check that. And I have got a video coming of the whole process of what we've done with the 16s, but I was actually waiting before I made that video because some of our 16 hulls are still away being refurbished. So they're being rubbed all the way back to the glass and then re-gel coated. And then once I get them back, then we'll be putting the rubber grip on the hulls. But I have done the beams. I could put the beam video out first and then the hulls video out as an extra one. But I do, of course, need a bit of time to do that. And time is not something that I have in abundance at the moment. So I haven't got those numbers to hand, I'm afraid there, Fred, but I'll get that to you very shortly.
Maybe 4, 5, and 6.
Hobie 4, 5, and 6. Still waiting out there, being done. Hello, Verna in Cape Town. Great to have you on board. Big fan of Cape Town. Just been there, of course. Would you also recommend covering the top surface of the hulls? And I would say we have been having some fun with that already. We've actually had 2 hulls back from being refurbished. And if we look at the top of the hull. There's the pylons there. That's pretty good for a drawing of that speed. What I've done with the ones that have been refurbished, unfortunately, all the hulls we've had back have all been port hulls, so I haven't been able to put one together as a boat. But I've put rubber grip up to about here, like this. So this whole section is gripped like that. And then we've got some of the boats which haven't gone away to be refurbed yet. So what I've done with those ones, not such a good picture this time, sorry about that. All right, is I've put well, this is actually a piece that's waiting to go on in that section on another boat, but I've put the rubber grip on the top like this. And I tell you what, with that rubber grip on, I can already taste how comfortable that is going to be to sail, especially when you are sending it. Nice. All right, there we go. In fact, in fact. All right, we've got John Claude in Trinidad. Hi, John Claude, great to have you on board as always. Hello from Trinidad, listening in from work. That's got to be the best way, one of the best ways. The three best ways to attend the live Q&As. One is listening in from work. Number two would be sitting in a chair. Number three would be having a lie down. All right, there we go. You heard it here first. All right, we've got Michael on board who's restoring an old 16. Nice. I'm glad that the videos are helping. Good luck with that. And, you know, one very easy way, if you want to sort of pay it forwards, almost like I've been helping with some tips and stuff. If you document your process of restoring your boat by either taking some video clips or photos as you restore your boat and then send them in for Show Us Your Cat, that is going to help other people who are looking at doing the same thing in the future. So it's a nice way of giving it back a little bit. If you fancy it, don't feel that you have to, but if you fancy it, then why not? Hi, Hanny. Great to have you on board. I'm sure you'll be coming out soon. Hanny's a regular visitor to us here Wildwind Sailing Holidays. All right, Werner says just fitted 2mm trap lines on the Mosquito. First test seemed okay. Further testing this weekend. Simple to do, quick to make the changes. Nice. Yeah, I think 2mm would be enough. For the trapeze lines I've been making with Dyneema, I've been using 2.5, which is a bit excessive, but I just get the Dyneema on a roll, and 2.5 is a good size to do a variety of different things. We're also, another good use of the Dyneema is trampoline lacing on, not on the boats where you're lacing through cringles, but on the boats where you're lacing around a rod, like on a Tornado or an F-18. The Dyneema is really good for that because it doesn't stretch and it is really slippery. That makes it really easy to pull that tension on. All right, we've got Jens on board. Jens is doing the dab there. Nice. Hey all, great to have you with us, Jens. We've got Ollie Smith on board from somewhere in the Wildwind boat park, or maybe even in the changing room. He's late to the chat, but that's okay. Jens says, like that with the rubber, more safety, more speed. Yeah, I think really comfortable. It doesn't matter. It's not so critical if your shoes don't have mega soft compound rubber. So your Zero Shoes Aqua Pro X is going to be very good with that grip, that's for sure. All right, So I'm going to go on to our first preloaded question now, which is from Patrick. All right. He says, he's sailing a Hobie Tiger. He says, I mostly rig the boat single-handed on the trailer, even when I do have a crew. Okay. Thinking of changing the front tensioner for a bottle screw so that I can tension the rig properly by myself. Would that work? Any downsides? Yeah, okay. Just going to get something. So on a Tiger, what you would generally have on the forestay would be a chain plate like this. Now, on a boat like a Tiger, what you're doing with this adjustment on the forestay is setting your mast rake. So a good idea is every time you take your mast down is to leave the pin in here where it was before. And that means that you know where you have to put it the next time you put the mast up so that your mast rake is correct. Now, what Patrick is talking about is installing some sort of bottle screw. Now, I've only got two to hand. This is a bottle screw, which, you know, you could see it's about the same length as one of these bad boys. And it's much easier to put tension on. We, just by turning it, and then the tension goes in. So yes, it would be much easier to do your rig tension with a bottle screw. But now here's the curveball. Should you put it on the forestay? No, because you want to keep your forestay set at the correct position. So you don't want to be messing around with your mast rake. Instead, you could do the same as what is done with many modern F-18s or Tornadoes, and that is to have two bottle screws and have one on each shroud. That means it's much easier also to get that tension on. And then the technique that I would use for putting that tension on the bottle screw single-handed, because even with a bottle screw, you don't want to be just, if you can get one which uses a, you wouldn't want one this big, but if you get one which uses a spanner to get the leverage to to tighten it, you don't want to be cranking it on with loads of tension. So I'm just going to attempt to draw a picture. So if this is the hull, and then there's the shroud, what I would do is kind of put your trapeze harness on. That's you. Hook in to the trapeze line and kind of sit on the trapeze from there while you're doing it. And that will take a bit of the tension off the shroud as you're winding it on. You can, of course, just wind it on without doing that. So, in fact, yeah, disregard that. And so I would say, yes, change these adjusters on the shrouds for bottle screws, and it will be much easier to get your rig tension on. But not only that, it will be much easier to get exactly what rig tension on you are looking for. In case you're wondering, we measure the rig tension gauge, rig tension using a gauge like this, which is a loose gauge. And what we're looking for, let's say very generally speaking, on any sort of F-18, Tornado, maybe a Hobie 20, something like that, we're looking to get this on 26 on the loose gauge. For that would be for very general conditions and crew weights, 26 on the loose gauge. And with a bottle screw, you can get it absolutely perfect. With the traditional adjuster, when of course on the shrouds we want to have this at the same number on both sides. So if we move down one hole on one side, we must do the same on the other side. And if we move down by 1 hole on both sides, that is going to go up by about 10 or 11 on the loose gauge, which if your tension was, let's say 21, 31 is going to be too much. So the bottle screw is the superior choice. Thanks for your question, Patrick. Hope that helps, and good luck. There we go. I should have said we're now just going to take a commercial break there. That was a commercial break, by the way, 30-30. Okay. All right. So Hanny is coming out to do some sailing from the 11th of June. Great stuff, Hanny. Look forward to seeing you out here. Very nice too. We'll all be very much warmed up. We've got quite a new team, a very exciting team on the Wildwind Beach, with perhaps more nationalities represented than ever before. All right, we've got Tim on board. As Clearwater, Florida says, does the waffle pattern of the rubber grip material leave a nice imprint on the back of your legs and burns when you hike out and sit on it? Yes, I should think it probably does. If you're sailing somewhere nice and warm like Florida and you're sailing in board shorts, then yeah, you are likely to get a little bit printed by the grip, I would think. Oh, in fact, Russell has come in here. He says, if you're sitting in the same place for that long, you should have moved a long time ago. There we go. All right. Robert says, on my 1985 Hobie 16, the halyard going over the top of the mast enters the luff because it has opened up over the years. Can I hammer this back without cracking the top of the mast? Yeah, this is a common problem. Let's get something that we can visualize this with. Okay. You're not going to believe it, but I've got here a section of mast. So what Robert is saying is, over the years, if this was the top of the mast, this bit here has gradually opened up, which makes it a bit of a pain with the main halyard when hoisting or lowering the sail, because I should think the nugget, the little locking ferrule, gets stuck sometimes. Can you knock this back to shape? I would say yes, you can, but not too often. I'd say you can certainly knock it back into shape once. Use quite a small hammer and just tappy with a small hammer there to get it back to its original shape. But if you have to do it more than once, there is a chance that you will crack the top of the mast. Well, that bit of track anyway. The other thing you can do, which might seem quite extreme, which we've done on our Pacifics, because it's for some reason on our Pacifics, which have got the same system, they've had a much bigger problem with this than the 16s. We've actually cut, how would that be? Like, we've cut a sort of slice out of the top of the track there, like angled. So it's not splaying, it's just a sort of diagonal angle at the top there. And Robert continues, when the lock nut goes into the left, the only way I could get it out is to drop the mast again. Yeah, that's a real pain. So, yeah, I would go for the tap it back in. But if it is looking like you've got some sort of stress lines there already, maybe don't go for the tap in. You could go for the hacksaw, chop the corner off, but just cut the smallest amount off that you can, and definitely don't go into the inside. You're just cutting a little bit of track, and hopefully that would work. But I have to put a disclaimer on that. I'm not guaranteeing that that will work. Have a look at it, see what you think. sorry, I can't be of more help there. One other thing you could look at is the actual locking nugget of your halyard. Has it become a lot smaller over the years? Is it quite an old halyard? Maybe what you could do is try a new halyard. If it's an old halyard, like more than 4 years old, let's say, chances are you're going to need a new one fairly soon anyway. So worth putting a different halyard on, see how that works. All right, we got 2 on board in Texas. Great to have you with us again, 2. All right, let's go on to our next preloaded question. This one is from Tom, and Tom's question is exactly the same as the question that we had at the start of the session from Lift and Drag Racing. I don't know if that's actually the same person, but either way, Tom, there you go. At the start of the session, that's when we looked at that. All right, the next preloaded question is from Dave, who's got a question about Hobies. Dave is disabled and he's into sailing, and he wants to know, is it possible to increase the width of the boat to increase stability without causing the hulls to submerge? Okay, so because Dave is disabled, he can't trapeze. So first answer is yes, there is something that you can do. And in the UK, back in the days when I used to work at the boat show at London, there was an organisation called Sailability, which possibly you could Google that. If I don't even know if Sailability is still going. I'm sure they are. And they had this great device that you could add to a 16 called a trap seat, basically a trapezing seat. And what this did is, let's just draw a picture. Drawing a picture here. We're just looking at the boat from behind. There's the mast. And this trap seat is basically like a wing, like you'd have on a Hobie 18 Magnum, but the wing comes out at trampoline level. And I believe it's been a while since I saw one of these things, but when that one goes down, that one comes up, sort of like on a line that goes up to the hounds. So you're not dragging the leeward one in the water if you're lifting the hull. And then that means you can be steering the boat from here, and you're getting the same amount of leverage as if you were trapezing. So you can sail the boat on very even terms with everybody else. So the trap seat is a great way to go. Check out Sailability, which I think